this isn't even the park yet, it's sort of like the way to get into it. And I can already see a couple of mushrooms, there's one there. Don't recognize them, but last time I went here, which was my first time in the woods, I found a lot of mushrooms right away in this spot. So just checking. So there's a lot of sulfur tuft there, if you can see. I'm gonna brighten this a bit. Yeah. Sulfur tuft. This is a polypore that I also found around here last time. It's a bit too hard to be eaten, so, and you can see a bit more right there. The polypore I was mentioning. This stung me tons last time, so I'm gonna be real careful this time in the woods. I'm gonna really get away from that. And I haven't explored that area much last time, and I think I can still show you. I saw a ton of fungi here. Right, so what you see in here is black staining pool. It's quite old now. Last time I came it was really fresh, but as you can see this is sort of like a hotspot, this whole tree. And apart from that, no, I just got stung. You have a lot of these, which I think are Mycelium, just growing alongside. Also, one thing I never foraged, but I might as well. These chestnuts, which look really fresh right now, ready to be eaten. And although I don't know how to cook them, I'm sure I can find a way, so might do that. I always check these big logs if I'm lucky enough to be in a park with some of them, as they usually have some polypores growing in them. These are actually quite clear. Mushroom hunting is a lot of in the right place at the right time. Not always going to go what you want, but you might as well try. It's quite a sunny day, pleasant, very pleasant. Since we are in a deer park, one thing to note is that there are also a lot of mushrooms growing around the grasslands. I'm more interested in edible fungi, like the kind that I want to cook. I'm not sure if you can see, but there are two deers in there. I'll put a photo anyway. I just had a coffee in the castle. I can also put a picture here. Had a cappuccino. It's very good. Reminded me of Westeros, as in the Game of Thrones thing. I was recommended to do that my first time that I came here, but annoyingly I didn't find a castle, and it's just right there in front of me. On the way to the castle is so interesting as well, because I had never heard the sound of a deer, like a male deer, when they are, I don't know what he was doing, but it seemed like all the female deers were running to him and then running away from him. Got no clue about what that was, but it was very interesting, the sound. I just found it quite fascinating. It's like, originally I thought it was a pig, which made me a bit scared. What's it called? Those wild pigs. Those I know are quite dangerous, and although I don't know much about how dangerous these are, I'm less scared of those. Do you see the deer there? They're so adorable. They're quite far from me, but I don't want to scare them too much. So now that I'm caffeinated, I am very excited to go deep into the woods and see what we find today. And I've been with my other lens, which is more for photography, just because I found 2 parasols already, which I'm very excited about, and I can show you the pictures here. I just found them actually in this grassland. Yeah, I've been quite lucky, because both times I came I found 2 really fresh ones. That's the main thing as well with mushrooms. You don't want to catch anything, forage anything that's already quite old. So I do keep that in mind. I always, like, I found some black staining polypo, which is incredible. It's my favorite mushroom that I've ever had. Parasol's up there as well. But I didn't catch it, I didn't forage it, that's the right word, because it wasn't like at peak fresh. And I think if you're gonna forage wild mushrooms, you might as well, one, be really sure that you know where you're foraging, and secondly, only forage things that are at their peak state, because otherwise you might have some, you know, stomach pains, or you could catch mild poisoning, not from parasols if you catch the right ones, but you know, I just want to avoid those things as much as possible. And also I forage because of the luxury that is understanding nature, being in a world with nature and coexisting with it, understanding how it works. And I think that's really fascinating, so that's what I'm gonna keep doing. I don't know if you can hear that. That's that sound again of the deer. Also, last time I got lost in these woods. I found my way completely fine, like without a map, but it took an hour and a half to get back from where I was. And this is my problem. Especially now that I'm caffeinated, I brought my keto brownies, I'm so energized, and my problem is that I don't know how far to go, so I just go really, really far, and I'm gonna go straight into these woods because they're incredible. I've been here before. Those ones are also really nice. In fact, I see a mushroom, I believe, and so I'm just gonna have a peek. But yeah, this is the route I'm gonna take. I found a lot of cool rustlers and bleedies last time. I didn't end up eating any of them. Only had 2 charcoal burners, which took me a while to identify at home, but my boyfriend told me to bite the mushroom, and if it was spicy, it was a big no. If it was not spicy, I should cut into it and double check, and we did all these tests and it was a charcoal burner, but I didn't like it that much, funnily enough. But I'm really excited to show you this because I think it is a parasol. I see 2 of them, so this is a good way for you to understand what they might be. Oh my god, that's a huge parasol. What the hell? Okay. I've never seen a parasol this big. I'm just gonna show you. We're just like, okay, now we found something that looks like a parasol. Let's actually examine to see if this is what we think it is. So this has been knocked over by something, possibly a deer. First thing I noticed that this bit is not zebra lined, but this bit is. So that tells me that it must be the right kind of parasol. It's absolutely gigantic, which makes me very happy. And it seems like, you know, I'm not going to take it simply because it is a bit, it just doesn't feel right. Usually parasols, if they're at the peak stage, are a bit less moist, a bit less, I don't know, they're a bit hardier to the touch. So I'm going to leave that one be. It'll release the spores, which is great. If you allow the mushroom to release the spores, it's really great because you're basically allowing that plant to collect the spores from the mushroom, and that's how mushrooms sort of colonize other spaces and get their mycelium growing. So here we have actually 2 mushrooms. I'm not going to take any of them because they look quite old, but this is a parasol. So try and focus. Do you see that zebra lining? That's exactly what you want, and this should be a movable ring, so it shouldn't be attached to this too much. You should be able to move it. And then with parasols, it's really easy to just identify these scales, if you will. There's another one here. You can also see the zebra lining, so that is a telephone parasol. Both of these are really old, so I'm not going to take that, as I mentioned before. You only take something that's at peak stage, and I'm glad that we came across these ones because that way you can understand how the parasol looks and realize for yourself, you know, if you find a parasol and you check all the markers and it is what you think it is, because do be careful, like there's so many species of parasols. The one that you can eat is the one with the zebra lining, very similar to those ones, very easy to tell apart. But if it does not have the zebra lining, or even if it does, there's also something you should do, especially if you're from North America, if you're not from Europe, because there is a false parasol. It's basically exactly the same. The only way you can tell apart is the spore print. So normal parasol will come out as white and the false parasol will come out as green. You really don't want that. That will cause really bad stomach aches. You might cause poisoning. So do be careful. You're passing through these logs. I always look at logs, as I mentioned, because they might have some polypores or even some sulfur tuft, which you obviously shouldn't eat, but they're quite cute. I get very happy overall with mushrooms, any kind. I think they are so fascinating. They are the fruiting bodies of mycelium, and mycelium, I've been learning, is so incredible for all kinds of things, but the main thing is just regulating the earth's soils, regulating the nutrients that trees have. A lot is being studied on this, but it could be that mycorrhizal networks actually play a big part in regulating which grasslands get which nutrients, which trees must be sacrificed, and so on. We have 2 parasols. Let's check which kind. So this one is an example of like prime. This one's very good as well. You kind of have to feel it. And then I'm gonna take this apart because I can see that it's got a bit of zebra lining. That one's a bit confusing because it's very brown, hard to tell, but it does seem to have that zebra lining right there. Okay, let's check this one. See, that one's a bit weird, so I'm not sure about that. Right, so this is a kind of dense woods that I want to go into. I went here last time, found a lot of mushrooms, a lot of panther caps, which, if you know, can be deadly poisonous, so be careful. Tons of chestnuts. Really beautiful soil. There's a deer really close to me, which you might not be able to see. Oh, it's a baby. These are so gorgeous. I'm going to try not to scare them too much. There's so many. Oh, I hate when they get up. I'm not going to do anything. Hi. Goodbye. These are actually quite used to humans, which is quite weird to experience. See, I love these woods. You got so much leaf litter, which is incredible. Got a lot of fertilizer. There's so many deers in here. I think this is a maple tree. Oh my god, there's so many. There's deer everywhere. I'm gonna try not to scare the deer too much. I feel really bad when they have to move. There is a big one behind me, which I'm being a bit brave about, but I really don't want to hurt any of them or cause any harm or even cause fear. So it's the weird thing, right? Like being rational enough to understand that we're humans and we are this like mass predator, yet wanting to just be very neutral and create a safe space for these species. There's a whole family there. Honestly, I don't know which way to turn because they're everywhere. Let's try and find some mushrooms. The main thing is you don't want them running towards you, because if there are a lot of them, these animals are quite heavy and I'm very tiny. So far I haven't seen anything too special, but I'm hoping to find some. Well, that didn't last long. Here are some sulfur tuft, very, very common. To me, it's always so much fun foraging in these dense woods because I realistically have no idea what I'll find. Here's some mycena, I think, or yeah, I think that's the word. They're so well lit. Looks like I have a flash on. And this is chicken of the woods that's rotten. Oh, I see a lot of old polypo in here. Maybe turkey tail, not too sure. And a lot of sulfur tuft in there. And this is ideal, really. There's a lot of pine, which porcinis love. It's a bad thing with porcinis, you have to be so attentive. They could be underground, they could be everywhere. So I feel like someone's been here. Someone seems to have been here for sure. There might have been a lot of porcinis here that just got removed. Do you see these holes? Yeah, that would have been incredible if all of these were puccini holes. See, all these holes, I believe, may have been puccinis. And these definitely look like man-made holes. Oh, I found a bolete, but... So that's quite interesting. Yeah, might have been a lot of those. You can see a tiny little yellow one here. There's a couple of mushrooms here I'm not too familiar with. Sort of like pinkish cap, not cap, sorry, stem, sturdy. Oh, actually they're quite flaky. Oh, this is a milky one. Look. Oh my god, that's so interesting. I was talking about these the other day with my boyfriend. Do you see how it turns into milk? So as soon as you touch it, like I was, it starts producing this milk. This is why identifying mushrooms is so hard sometimes. It is so flaky that it just crumble in my hands to this milk. I never came across those ones, but I feel like every time I discover a new mushroom without actually discovering it with my boyfriend, and there's so many of them, I just end up finding them a couple days later. See, there's so many, tons of them. May have found the mushroom. This one seems to be a honey mushroom. Yeah. So this is a very young honey mushroom. Sort of less scaly top. This isn't the same one I had the other day. I had the bulbous honey mushroom. But they have this like cotton fairy ring. Very, very cool. Might take this one for myself. These equally interesting, so I don't know if you can see. There's a tiny really cute mushroom here. And an even tiny one there. I find these adorable. I believe this to be either a russula or a chocolabanner. I'm not gonna take it, it's too tiny. I didn't like chocolabannas last time anyway. You know what, I haven't moved much from this area just because there's so many. And this is where you find really cool stuff sometimes, in hotspots. And I hid a deer doing that thing again. I have no idea what it is. Another thing I'd really like to find, just for convenience, is turkey tail. These are quite interesting. Don't remember what they're called. Maybe I'll find it later. But you grow in these like clusters, like reddish stem, quite velvety. Very cool texture on the cap as well. Absolutely obsessed with these milky caps because I never found and I completely touched them just to check if the gills were flaky or sturdy, but yeah, they just started milking. I find that so cool, like a fig. I suspect these to be older honey mushrooms. Let's see. I don't know. Completely different. So interesting. They're quite eaten as well, so I'm just gonna leave them. Yeah, decompositor. Nope. God, I nearly went into a tree. Found a very cool amanita. Touch it with a stick because it looks very dangerous. Although they aren't really, like you shouldn't have any problem with touching them. It looks like a blusher. I don't want to damage it. Yeah, it's got these like weird amanita like things. Let's see how it is. That's such a thick stem. What the hell? But it has that, if you can see, it has that veil, like very typical of amanitas. So big. I love how they look. That's a very good teller for porcinis. I wish I could find one. But I think all of them have been taken by this mysterious person. I'm going into a hole. Alright. What is that? Oh, looks like a massive chanterelle, but it's not. It's one of those poisonous ones that looks like a chanterelle. Can you hear that? That's a really big deer. I saw one earlier who was doing the same. It's a bit like he's trying to mate with them. Okay, we found a couple more. So just found these boletes. Very slappable. Found these before in Germany. Gonna just do this. Check if they blush. That's what they're like inside. Like a typical bolete. Very yellow. I'm kind of worried about this deer because he just keeps doing this sound and just keeps throwing me. But I am in his land, not him, so... What's he doing? What are you talking to me? Ooh, oh, it definitely looks like a blushing thing. Ooh, that's a panther cap. Right, or blusher, which might be a blusher since it is very pink. You don't want to eat these, they will possibly kill you. But this wood is full of them. Just found some more. Please ignore the deer in the background. No idea what that's about. Also, I wouldn't recommend that you do what I do, which is just ignore it and keep walking. That does not sound super friendly. Charcoal bun, I think. It is my lucky day. Look at what I found. What a gorgeous thing. I love her. I'm obsessed with finding amanitas because it's so pretty. Isn't everyone obsessed with finding amanitas? Look at this. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. You can very easily tell them apart. It's just red with these things. So if you know anything about amanitas, you know that they have this chemical component, which is ibotenic acid, and it turns into muscanol. It promotes this sort of delusional psychoactive effect, but also a relaxing one because it targets GABA. Though very little information is known about actual toxicity of amanitas, and would recommend that you tread carefully. But obviously do get educated, that's the main thing I always recommend. Okay. So this is one that I found before, but I know it's not a Puccini. And then I also find these ones. I think these are older versions of the one I just showed you. Puccinis don't have gills, they have pores. So very easy to distinguish. This is a blusher. You can see how it turns red. This one doesn't seem to be a blusher, this seems to be a panther cap. These look like inky caps. Or Mycelium. They might be Mycelium because they don't seem to be doing anything. This is so interesting. They have this like nipple as well. I've reached the road, which is a good sign. I don't plan to stay as long as I stayed last time. I've already got some parasols, so I'm very happy about that. And my main goal today is just to relax a bit in nature, show you a bit of the mushrooms that I find, and hopefully educate you a bit on these things. Here are some more cute mushrooms, very sweet. These small ones you generally don't eat. They're not edible, as far as I know. There's a chunky squirrel there. Oh, it escaped. Just chilling around here. So, I'm not sure how much you can see. But that's coral fungus. So this is an earth ball. And inside it has all the spores, so it's like black inside, that's a teller, not a puffball, an earth ball. And I can actually see the spores coming out already, so it just kind of opens up, releases a bunch of spores, and some mushrooms here, a ton of them. These are the same ones I found earlier. Look at this tree. What a gorgeous place. Beautiful. Oh, look, there's another amanita antherina, or panther cap, so you can see a bit better. Oh, this is where I found artist skunk. A lot of the same mushrooms that I found before. See that one right there? This thing's on the trees. Artist skunk. They look like this, very easy to distinguish. I think these are some minky cabs. I'm actually gonna get in here, why not? Okay. So this is false turkey tail. Very thin and well, I think it's false. Either that or it's very old. Turkey tail is usually a bit thicker, and you can see white spores, which this one seems to have more for a yellow one. These are inky caps, which are so pretty. So inky caps are originally like that, like when young, and then they grow into this and they create this like ink, if you can see. So if you touch around, that's what you get. They are edible, but poisonous if you have drunken or will drink alcohol with them. But very gorgeous specimen. And this is Yata skunk. Okay, I found what I think a charcoal burn is. You really have to be careful with these because they look like it, but you have to bite into it, see if it's spicy. It's a bit of a weird teller. But yeah, they come in all sorts of different colors, and these definitely seem like it. So if you find one of these, check if, for instance, this one, it flakes. So I know that's not a charcoal burner. It's like, if it flakes like almond, that's a Ursula. But that's the beauty of it. You live and learn. A lot of these things is just my boyfriend who taught me. I'm such an experiential learner, so I only really assimilate all these concepts by visualizing, seeing on the field, learning about it, categorizing, sort of keeping a catalog on what I know. Because I'm the way I am, immediately as soon as I learn 2 or 3 things I want to share with the world. That's why I do these vlogs. So hopefully you're learning something as well. These are so cute. Old sulfur tufts. Alright, so this also looks like the one we saw earlier. Also the same test, so I'm just going to pass through. What I'm doing is essentially checking the gills. If it flakes, it's not a charcoal burner. This one does not flake. Now the best way for me to know would be to bite into this, check if it's spicy, and if it is spicy, it's poisonous. Just spit it out. You don't chew it. I mean, you chew it, but not like swallow it. And this one might be a charcoal burner. It's also very eaten, so maybe it is. It has sturdy gills, so that's very different from the one we just saw. Those are very interesting. So pretty. Like a pinkish color. They don't seem to milk. Very white. I've never seen these, and they kind of... Also, that might be a charcoal burner, just that. So, this one definitely looks like a charcoal burner. Gills seem very sturdy. I'm not going to chew it right here, but there's another one there. I might take this one just because it's a pretty specimen. Got a new one here that I've never seen. Whoa! Ooh, it has a resin. I'm gonna focus so you can see. I don't know if you can see that, but it's got some resin coming out of it. Yeah, like water. My camera's running out of battery. I hope you've had a great time. We'll keep foraging for a bit more, and then I'm gonna head home. Just before I go, tiny cuties here. It's been lovely to be with you. I'm going to go back and enjoy a bit of time by myself. Dream home.